Welcome to the Tuesday edition of the Associated Guest. I'm, as always, your host, Alpha Animus, um, here at the Bear in Mind channel. Today, Ghost of Yotei on sale after just 2 weeks. That's not great. Not great for anything as far as the medium goes. Hasan Piker just keeps snowballing. I know I said at least a week ago I was going to stop talking about him. And I have done a really good job. I haven't talked about Jellywig and all his little bits, the weird stuff where his girlfriend says, I'm over at Hassan's house every day. But now something new's happened, and I wanted to cover it. And then we might go on to Stephen Crowder covering why the right won't survive unless this happens. What's that? We'll see if we get to it. But let's get to it. With Very Dark.
Many of us expected Ghost of Yotei to sell pretty well because Tsushima did, and so many people loved that game.
I expected it to sell well amongst the normies. Anyone who pays any attention would know that it was going to go the way of many sequels of successful, especially first editions into a franchise. Well, actually, this one's a new one. They kind of shelved the sequel for a spinoff. But here we go.
We didn't expect it to be on sale nearly 2 weeks after release. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, I completely understand that all games will eventually go on sale, but when you expect people to swipe their credit card for $70, sometimes more, at release, why would we do that? If just 2 weeks after release, a game is going to go on sale. And this is not happening in every region, but it is still happening, which is absolutely mind-blowing. This was posted by Smash JT. He said 2 weeks after release, Ghost of Yotei prices reduced. What an odd thing to do for such a successful game. Now, I always anticipated this game would probably sell like 3 to 4 million copies over several months. I never thought that it was going to reach the heights of Tsushima, but at this point in time,
Yeah, I thought it was going to get about maybe 60%.
Sony still hasn't boasted about their sales numbers, and while we do have alleged Circana data, we don't have solid sales figures from that because of course they are paywalled. We just know that it was at the top of a chart, not even number 1. It was number 4, though. Now we're hearing that PS5 copies of Ghost of Yotei are already reduced 2 weeks after release. So it's been
Yeah. I mean, even $10 on sale this early, it's kind of a kick in the bobos to all the early adopters, especially when it launched at the new raised price of $70. Dropping it to 60, it might help a little bit, but probably not.
just over 2 weeks since Yotei launched as the latest PlayStation 5 exclusive title, arriving as the anticipated sequel to 2020's Ghost of Tsushima, which was an amazing game, and I was so disappointed that there were so many problems surrounding Yotei, and it seemed to not necessarily be a big upgrade from Tsushima. They did,
As always, it's a graphical update, sometimes a gameplay update. I haven't got to play it yet. I'm not going to play it until it drops down to at least 50. Just because I don't care. The original game, I bought it. I bought it twice. Bought it on PlayStation, completed it. Bought it on PC when it released with the DLC and everything. Playing through it again currently. Saturday and Sunday morning right here at the Bear in Mind channel. But I don't know. Yotei, I might wait until... like I said, $50 at least. And that's going to be a bit.
remove a couple of systems, like with the combat. The visuals do look good. Atsu doesn't seem like a very interesting character. She does seem pretty forgettable, and it's a story that's been done time and time again. And, with all the controversy surrounding the game, aside from what is actually in the title, yeah, it turned a lot of people off. Despite being generally lauded as another excellent game from critic reviews, the game is already starting to see discounts at some online retailers. Yeah, that's because critic reviews that are high do not equal high sales. It's so funny that the
Yeah.
media still has not.
What? The people who are paid to review the game by the people who made the game review it high, and then other people don't like it. It's almost as if the media lies to you, just so they can be little friend buddies and get free stuff from the people who they're supposed to critique.
Learn this, that this continues to happen. It's like IGN's, Polygon's, Kotaku's, they'll give games 9s and 10s like Dragon Age of Veilguard or Concord, but then when the title actually comes out and gamers are expected to buy it, nobody is. So PlayStation launched Yotei at a price point of £69.99, which digital
Nice.
buyers are pretty much locked into paying. However, shoppers can already save a tenner on the MSRP of Yotei if they head to Amazon. Instead of paying $69.99, the brand new PS5 exclusive game right now is down to $59.95. It's only a 14% discount, but it makes a huge difference among a busy period of video game releases. And I love a good video game sale, don't get me wrong.
And not only, look, your thoughts on the people, what the creators have said on X and all that, or what the main star consistently says. Which, you remember when you were like back in the day when actors and actresses and all this had the same rules as you do at work, how you can't say certain things, especially if you're wearing the company uniform. You can't do certain things. The military knows about this as well. Most of them aren't even allowed to wear theirs and out with the civilians. And the Marines and such. But the biggest thing is that it's not even as close of a story. Like in the Ghost of Tsushima, it's about your whole country's coming down beside you. You're being invaded. Which I can understand them not wanting to do an invasion thing, considering the rhetoric, surrounding the world. But you're being invaded. Your homeland's being taken from you. And it's just, and then this new one is just a revenge tale. You're not fighting for anything but yourself. And maybe, a couple people who died. I mean, it's still a moving story, I'm sure. But fighting for your homeland, fighting for your people, it's a completely different level. And no matter how good the game looks, no matter how well it plays, it's not going to live up to the first story. Same thing with The Last of Us. The first story, very moving. It probably the most moving piece of video game storage that has ever existed. And the gameplay was on point too. But the biggest thing is the sequel really acted like it hated its characters. Except for the new one. The one who had way more protein than someone who is in the post-apocalypse. That and why are 9-month pregnant people on patrol? Anyway, continue.
But when people are expected to buy something at release and pre-order things, why would I do that when I see a situation like this happening? If I'm an average consumer, if I'm somebody who can only buy one video game a month or every 2 months or hell, even every couple of months, because video games are very expensive and people have lives outside of their hobbies, why would I do this when I could just wait a few weeks? And in this case, only 2 weeks. It's such an insulting situation. And of course, this is true. If you head on over to Amazon, it is sitting at $49.96. And
Okay.
this is, partially Amazon's decision. It's partially Sony's decision. We're just talking about this not looking good for some.
And again, if you like the game, that's completely fine. I completely understand how people don't get involved in the politics of things. And I completely respect that. I, however, know about this. I've been involved in it quite a bit. I don't know. it hits different. That and the care and love that went into the first game, and then being disappointed when, because this Ghost of Tsushima was basically the Assassin's Creed game set in feudal Japan that everyone had been waiting for. I mean, you'll go on YouTube, throw a stone on YouTube, you'll hit several streamers or YouTubers who are talking about this very thing, and then and then the Assassin's Creed set in feudal Japan actually happens, and it's not great. It's not great at all. Rife with glitches, weird stories, and the fact that you're playing, and for the first time ever, a character who may or may not have actually existed, and your love interest is the mother of Japan, who was known for her purity, and all this other stuff. You're pretty much shitting on that whole country's culture and the whole thing. I don't know. And then come with Yotei. It's a huge downstep. And like I said, I'll probably end up playing it once it hits 50, and I'll probably enjoy the game very much, especially if it's kept a few of the things from the first one that I like and improved upon the gameplay at least. But I'll probably end up skipping the cutscenes after a little bit if it starts feeling a little,
Sony, no matter how you cut the mustard, because even if it wasn't directly up to Sony and they didn't give the go-ahead, it means that Amazon was told to be so confident in this product and they expected it to fly off the shelves that they stocked up and nobody is purchasing the game. And I had just recently talked about how Ghost of Yotei was #1, but it still sold 40% less than Tsushima, and an analyst explained and reassured why, and this happened with the physical sales in the UK, which does tie into it being already 14% off the MSRP.
And I will say, people will say, well, Ghost of Tsushima sold during COVID. It had an advantage. But I'll counter that with, no one knew what the fuck it was. And only people who like that kind of stuff in the first place, whether it be samurai epics, or, the Assassin's Creed style games, and we hadn't had one in a little bit. Well, we had one, but no one cares about Valhalla. Like, really. I know a lot of people bought it, but it's, no one cares. But I can just as easily counter it with that. So the fact that this one's selling 40% less than Tsushima, a game that was unheard of, just happened to come out during COVID and happened to be fantastic in every single way. It's probably one of my favorite games, up there with like Breath of the Wild, and no, that's it. And I do feel bad for Horizon Zero Dawn because it had the, bad luck of coming out 6 days before Breath of the Wild. So I didn't even get to finish it before Breath of the Wild came out. But anyway, tangent aside.
On Amazon UK. So it seems that it's not selling in this region. And again, we have heard that apparently it has done phenomenal according to Circana, right? #4. We don't have actual sales figures, which of course I think it's important for transparency's sake for those figures to be put public, or a general range. Circana is trying to sell a product though, which I understand, though I still don't necessarily think that all of these sales were all that amazing for Sony, because they would have boasted. It has been weeks since it released, you'd think.
And it may be at the top, but right now the market is down. Not only because of the price increases, but because of the lack of quality. And it very much shows. Because even though this was at the top of the charts, it's nowhere near as good as even last year, let alone what the top few games sold over the last few years, going all the way back to COVID.
That they would have already said, oh, it sold 3 million, 4 million, 5 million copies, which they're not, which doesn't really bode well, though. We're talking about a pile of problems with Yotei. People are upset with them replacing Jin Sakai. People are upset with the lead actress Erika Ishii's social media presence and the fact that she is an activist. You have
also, I know I'm probably the only one that thinks it's funny that I keep calling Jin Sakai Jin Saki, the former White House press secretary. I don't care. It's funny for me, so I'm going to keep doing it. But we'll circle back around to that later.
Developers on this project, ones that still work on it and ones that were fired, attacking conservatives and, of course, laughing at Charlie Kirk's assassination, making vile comments and vile statements. Then, on top of all of that, you have the Sucker Punch co-founder coming out and saying, well, that's sort of not our studio mentality, and that's kind of not okay. And he sort of thinks that people at the studio are better than this, even though it just sounds like he doesn't know the company culture because he's probably in the office once to twice a year. None of this looks good for Sony, and I am so disappointed with everything that surrounded Ghost of Yotei because Tsushima was such a phenomenal experience, but this game, even if you love it, isn't particularly everything it could have been, regardless of if you agree or disagree, even if
and it all comes down to weak characterization and weak story. And like I said, I haven't played it yet. I've seen most of the things they put out on it, which in most cases like this, it isn't a lot. They put out a loose thing on the story. It is just a revenge tale, not unlike The Last of Us Part 2 and such. But like I said, the scale of the game is just that much less. And making a smaller scale game versus, and I'm not going to lie, it more or less with different types of bad guys. It's not just the few white people who have been on the island. It's pretty much just Blue Eye Samurai, which sounds dope because that show is dope, but it's we'll see. But the story seems pretty weak sauce. You're literally just fighting, I think it's like 5 or 8 warlords that you have to track down. I don't know. Like I said, I'll play when it gets to 50, and if I like it, then I will eat a big crow right here on stream when it does finally drop down to that price point. And I will boost the game. I will say how great it is if it turns out to be that great. But from everything I'm seeing and how things usually work out with this, not so much. But anyway, let's continue to Hasan bin Laden Piker, the communist with the Gucci bag. I'm gonna fast forward.
Now let's begin. So Hasan apparently zapped his dog and we had a ton of stuff go down. Anyways, Hasan is now crashing out at his fellow streamer friends for not defending him.
My own personal experience with this stuff, as a person who is the recipient of it for the last 2 years, with all of my fucking colleagues.
All right, let's just a little recap. So Hasan shocked his dog. He makes his dog lay here for 4 hours, which it's sad. I don't really care that he shocked his dog so much because a lot of people use shock collars. I'm pretty sure they're illegal in California, from what I saw on some of the earlier stuff. But making him just sit in the background as a prop, making the dog Kaya, I guess it's a girl, just sit back there as a prop, is kind of cruel. I mean, you can expect that kind of thing for maybe a cat, but for a dog to have to lay there for 4, he streams for like 4 or 5 hours at a time, twice a day, and Kaya's always back there. So it's not cool. And anytime Kaya gets up, he hits the little button, yells place. But anyway, so he goes on a thing. He says, "Oh, it's not a shock collar. Oh, it's just a vibrating collar. Oh, it's the shock collar, but the prongs are taken off. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that." Taylor Lorenz comes out with all her journalism hackery. All his friends come out and support, except for old Jellywig, who, in a rare instance of spinach, comes out and says, "Yes, Hasan did shock the dog." And then his girlfriend, who is at Hasan's house every day, said, "Hey, could you not say that?" And so he goes right back and says, "Oh, never mind. Hasan good. Me like Hasan." It's been a roller coaster. I haven't covered the last couple of segments because I don't care, but it's been interesting.
Standing idly by and not even letting out a peep Okay, not even once letting out a fucking peep.
So this is
for a
after
position that I
Jellywig.
maintained a position that is now the majority position, a position that colleagues of mine that were silent about out of fear that they would be yelled at, that they now can openly declare they're in support of. Okay, not once did a single motherfucker turn around and go, Twitch are terrorist. That seems like a little crazy that you just have a bunch of Arab Muslim content creators and
All right, so he's crashing out because it came out, all the videos where he said that America deserved 9/11 came out, and he's been hanging out with Zoran Mandani, the guy who's running for mayor in New York right now, who's, I believe, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure he's Pakistani. And he's in support of a lot of these things. There's a lot of rumors going around him, but he's distanced himself from Hasan Piker because Hasan Piker is too controversial, which, considering some of the stuff that he's been caught saying, it's pretty hilarious. But so now he's crashing out because Zoran Mandani will no longer take his calls, and he's publicly calling him out.
and you were comparing them to terrorists, this doesn't seem like a fun game. This seems pretty fucking racist, as a matter of fact. Okay? And not a single fucking person spoke out on it. And to this day, they do not. And they never will. And I just ate it every fucking day, knowing full well that if you bring it up and you say, hey, this is kind of fucked up, they'll make a larger conversation about it. Okay? Other content creators have called for my deportation, consistently called me a fucking terrorist, laughed
pretty
about
funny.
it like it's fucking.
Well, it's because you support terrorists. Like you actively, like you called one of the, you said that a Houthi pirate was like Luffy from One Piece. Not so much, buddy.
Jokes. Not a fucking peep from anybody. Okay? Not a peep from anyone. This is how racist attitudes continue to thrive. Okay? And at a certain point, you got to stand up for yourself. So I'm proud that Zoran's doing this.
Right. So first off, let's just address why people.
Okay, so that whole time he was talking about things that had happened to him personally, and then he ended it with he's happy that Zoran Mandani is standing up for himself, which is fine. I'm all for standing up for yourself, whatever. I don't live in New York anyway. So except for the fact that all those big businesses are going to get hollowed out or moved to other states, and it's going to very much affect stocks and a lot of the money market in America. I'm excited to see the fuckery that's going to occur, but let's continue.
People are not defending him. Buddy, defending you when you're so obviously in the wrong is the #1 way for anybody to destroy their reputation. Just look at what happened to your orbiters, Casey Tron, Denims, and Front, right? They're getting sued into literal bankruptcy, begging you for some dollars, which you refuse to give, obviously. Jellywig and QT have lost so much favor from the public for still trying to defend you as well. I mean, it's pretty obvious why the rest of the streamers don't want to also ruin their reputation. Also, this guy just automatically assumes that if anybody is quiet about a situation, they are on Hasan's side, which is 99% not the case. Most likely, they just don't want to speak out against you. Now, he also mentioned one of the infamous games, Twitch or Terrorist. Now, if you missed the lore of the series, this is a game where people flash quotes on the screen, such as America deserved 9/11, and then you, as the player,
That's
have
funny.
to guess whether a Twitch streamer said it or a terrorist, right? Now, normally, that would be pretty easy to distinguish, right? But it seems like on Twitch, it's particularly hard to do, because in fact, that quote, which you would think that a terrorist said, is actually Hasan Piker, right? He's the one who said that.
America deserved 9/11, dude. Fuck it. I'm saying it.
So, yeah, if you don't want to be compared to terrorists, maybe don't talk like one. Maybe don't make statements supporting a bunch of terrorist orgs and doing their propaganda, playing their music videos on stream, showing it to your friends, being like, this is pretty cool, interviewing them, literally just comparing them to heroes like Luffy from One Piece. Now, he also cried about people saying that they want to deport him, and that's not really because of some racism. That's probably because you're openly anti-American, dude. Like, you hate the country you live in, you actively try to sabotage it at every turn. Any normal, sane country would deport you. The only reason you haven't been deported is because you're in America, where you're allowed to do this shit, and they have free speech to the extent where they don't even enforce this guy who's threatening to murder his political opponents.
You would kill Rick Scott.
That's usually not allowed, you know, in a lot of countries around the world.
Yeah.
Just saying. Nux responds, why aren't you risking your career by defending a dog-abusing terrorist PDF file supporter? Moving on to Ethan Klein calling out Hasan over a clip of him mauling at a black chatter. I can't get over how comfortable he is telling minority groups how to feel.
Like it or not, black people care about the border. Man, shut the f up. Black people care about the border. I don't give a f what black people care about. The Democratic Party literally is going to fucking lose, even if they don't lose, move the country to a significantly more right-wing position. Oh, black people care about this, black people care about that. Like, shut the f up. That's not how politics works. I hate that. I hate this, like, shield, okay? I hate this fucking idiotic shield, okay? Oh, well, Hasan, how dare you? Like it or not, black people care about this issue. It's like, it's such a fucking stupid stance, okay? It's such an idiotic stance. Nobody operates like this, okay?
When he, in fact, operates like this, it's just not in the news for the last couple of weeks. So he doesn't care about it because he's not supposed to. That's how he operates. Like, if you look at anything that Hasan Piker says, and he's talked about the stuff that he's being roasted for not talking about here in the past, but it's only because it was on mainstream news. And if it's not on mainstream news, it doesn't get Hasan clicks. If it doesn't get Hasan clicks, then Hasan doesn't fucks with it.
Okay? Black people don't operate like this either. Shut the f up. Stop using
if anyone knows black
shield.
people,
You know,
it's
this
Hasan
is
Diddy Bin Laden
hilarious
Piker.
considering this is exactly how Hasan operates. This man makes every single thing about identity, skin color, religion, and groups of people. So like, oh, if you're black or brown, you have to think a certain way, or you're automatically like a Nazi or a bigot or something. The thing Hasan is complaining about is you. You're the person who groups people like this, and he always has these moments where he accidentally slips up and he reveals his true intentions, how he actually thinks. We even had that clip of him getting...
And this is literally, you know what really grinds my gears? You, America. Fuck you. That's what Hasan Piker's doing, basically. But, you know, just to black America.
Mad at a trans person because they thought the wrong way, right? You cannot disagree with
play
Hasan,
it. I was
he's a
looking for this
fucking Nazi.
earlier.
So here's another clip of him losing his mind over a
damn
6-month sub. And basically they say, stop speaking for black people or whatever. Because Hasan obviously uses them as a prop in his political arguments. And he gets mad.
Which is what grifters do.
You really don't want to talk about us unless it comes from voting. When is the last time you spoke about Sudan? I'm going to fucking ether you. Any other black folk want to engage in radical activist language in this fucking chat? Suck my fucking cock. Okay? You stupid fucking radlib. Get the fuck out of here. Get the
radlib. Okay.
Stupid, moronic, fucking radlib nonsense. Suck my... You think you have a pass in here to fucking speak like this? Get the fuck out of here, dumb fuck. You think I'm gonna fucking baby you? Go ahead. Go post a fucking clip about how much of a fucking white supremacist I am. Suck my dick. Annoying, dumb fuck.
Well, the clip has been posted and it's not looking good. Also, did this man just say any other black folk? Hello? Hello? Like, that's not some language you'd expect from Mr. Progressive, Mr. Hamas Diddy Piker here, right? The beacon of goodness is maybe...
And that also reminds me of this little shot here. Sorry, just a quick aside. So this right here is basically what Hasan Piker's doing. So these protests are mostly done by rich people, a lot like Hasan Piker, who lives in a $3 million estate in Southern California. Pretty sure it's in the Los Angeles area. And this guy... This is the son of a wealthy, I think his dad works on Wall Street or some such. I can't remember off the top of my head. But I do know that this person is wealthy enough to tour the country and do little protests and things like this. And this is what he says when he's approached by a black woman who's trying to get to work, but he's blocking the road so she can't.
I don't care if I know that these people are having their children taken and their parents. What about my kids? Look at this. That's what happens to my kids. I can't help it. But you can if you could just move out the way. You're not going to. How is this a peaceful protest if there's nothing to do? No, it's not.
How do you as white people feel about stopping a black woman from going to work?
Oh no, not work. I care so much.
So you don't care about stopping black people from going to
He's
work?
never worked a day in his life.
That you guys are causing. I'm not causing no problems. I'm not trying to. We're just trying to leave.
See, and that's how these people operate. Like Hasan Piker, he doesn't care. He doesn't care about all the things that he protests to care about. He only cares about what current thing is. You see this a lot with conservatives and liberals. They don't care about anything unless it's current thing. And that's all that they'll talk about. Me personally, I just like talking, making fun of people for being retarded. So that's what I'm mostly doing here. Also a bit to inform people, some of the normies that I know who follow me and watch me after. They don't watch me live, but they watch my show when it goes up on YouTube to just watch. But quick aside, so Halo has so the White House, GameStop, and even Microsoft has been posting a lot of stuff together. Destroy the Flood, join ICE, a little picture of Halo here, and Angry Joe Vargas. Fuck ICE, fuck Trump, get the fuck out of here. Using Halo for your shitty, dehumanizing police state propaganda. No one thinks your shit is cool besides low IQ, her mega cult members. That's actually pretty funny. Half of which are bots. I don't know about that. Y'all gonna find out in the next election. That's a sad thing. I don't think they are. Not in this case, at least. But tell me you know nothing about Halo without telling me, Joe. Halo is... I don't know about... Hold on. John, the savior he portrayed. I mean... It maybe borrows from some of that stuff, but I don't know if I'd call Halo a Christian game. So, Demion posts another thing. Be Angry Joe. Mad Halo is used by conservatives. Composer of Siri is conservative, which is true. The guy, he's actually been canceled successfully. One of the few who was successfully canceled. Game's entire plot is religious allegory, true. Flood, Ark, Halo, all Bible references. Okay, sure. To which Joe then responds, be a Demion. But he doesn't do it in the same method he does. He just writes a paragraph. Be a Demion. And clutches pearls because someone he doesn't know dislikes Donald Trump and how ICE has conducted themselves, breaking into people's homes without warrants, arresting U.S. citizens. That part's not true. The only U.S. citizens who have been arrested are people who are, what's it called? When you block police from doing their jobs or attacking police. No, because I saw that and I was pissed off, so I went and looked it up, and everything I can find is literally they're just the only U.S. citizens who are being arrested are people who obstruct justice, quote unquote. Profiling, ramming people off roads, that's not true either. They're getting rammed off roads. Like there's literally video footage of ICE getting rammed off roads. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty sick to see. I don't like that people are doing this, but the videos are, interesting. Killing people by mistake, I haven't seen anything about that. Bullying with badges, I can see that. Like that part, okay, sure. Lick their boots like a good little boy by jumping to defend a stupid meme's usage. Whine and cry about others that stand up against what they consider dumb bullshit. You're kind of filleting yourself on that one. Bring up a bunch of unrelated points about Halo. That one's pretty on point. The one that he said, not the one that Joe said. Being a snowflake about other people not liking ICE recruitment. I can see that. Calling others retarded, like a big boy on the internet while making retarded points to defend a trash meme. That's a bit of a stretch. Did I miss anything? Pathetic dude. You're better than this. See, and that is at the same... Oh, damn it. That is at the same time condescending and uplifting, I guess. No one has a problem with conservatives here. I also have conservative views. This propaganda poster was created by a masked police force. That's a bit over. Mutated the flood, blah, blah, blah. Official profession. That's cool, man. God bless your righteous mission. Keep licking those boots. You gotta love all the clout being flung back and forth here. Like I don't particularly power to the players, literally. That's everybody. Like and do you think that everything sent by the White House is posted by. That's a funny picture. I just noticed that it's Trump as an old lady. That's funny. That's funny. He looks like the Queen. But anyway, sorry. We'll continue.
Not so good, guys. Maybe the mask is slowly starting to slip here, and people are starting to notice.
What do you think you're doing? We're talking
The
about
fuck do you think you're
creating
doing?
a larger, broad, people-back movement and creating solidarity, and you immediately got Root.com article regurgitators in here instantly being like, sweetie, you don't understand black people. Shut the fuck up. God damn. That attitude left a long fucking time ago. It doesn't work, okay? Keep advocating for your own fucking demise then.
Okay.
Fucking standpoint theory ass motherfuckers. Oh my God.
Oh my God, dude. Take your meds. This guy swore like 50 times. I guess that really pissed him off. I thought it was just a Jews he didn't like. That one was pretty obvious.
And it was a softball
conflating Jews
comments.
and
Like it wasn't
Zionists and
anything.
stuff
It was
like
just
that.
like, hey,
Now
why
it
don't you
seems
talk
like
about
he's
Chad?
expanding. All right, do not
Or,
ask Hasan what he thinks
Sudan,
about
sorry.
X group of people. Worst mistake of my life. And I've just noticed so many more instances of this, of him like not even pretending to keep up the woke mask anymore. He's so much aware now of how much of a cult he's in, to the point where he can say anything and get away with it, even if it's not true at all. So he doesn't even try to look for optics anymore. He's just like, yeah, I'm gonna go mask off. Right, moving on to the Emiru Mizkif situation. Basically context, Emiru accused Mizkif of a bunch of horrible things like SA, blackmail, abuse, and being controlling. And one of the things she said was him losing his mind when she crossed him in viewers, and people have found a clip about it.
Emiru exposed how Mizkif was abusive and controlling her every move during their relationship.
What does it mean to be a
Yeah, that part is pretty gross. I don't care. Well, I mean, I care, but like, I'm not here for that part of the story, and I don't really want to talk about it because I don't know enough about the situation. I just know that he's probably tossed his career aside. This is Emiru, of course, is the same girl who got assaulted at TwitchCon. But I covered the TwitchCon thing because it was a huge story. I don't like covering like people's relationship drama. At least as far as anything horrible like that. Mizkif more than likely did it. I'll say that. But because he admits to parts of it, and then he but anyway. Yeah, I don't like covering stuff like that because I don't like when people air their grievances online. In very personal situations, like if it's internet beef, whatever, I'll cover that. Or if it moves to the next level, sure, whatever, I can cover that. But as of right now, it's just a dude pissed off that his girlfriend had a higher view count than he does. And instead of reflecting on what he can do to up his numbers, as Jellywig would say, or even congratulate her on doing so well, even if it is just because she's a girl and she's pretty or whatever, that's not how you react. Like, be a little jealous or whatever, sure, but just, be all mopey later, or state it in a conversation later. Don't go and crash her stream because you're pissed because your stream sucks or is not as good. I mean, I have friends who have way more bigger audiences than I do. And I'm jealous, but I'm not mad at them. I'm happy for them. Jesus.
conservative? What does it mean to be America first when we're losing? Right. And I even have to couch my words here and be careful and say right-wing conservatism, America first, because the terms in and of themselves now are loaded where people will point and say, well, you're not America first. Well, I'm not a conservative. I don't consider myself right-wing. Look, whatever term you want to use, I don't care. What I'm talking about here is the coalition of people who want to preserve, protect, and all recognize and respect America, the United States of America. That precludes the Democrat Party. That precludes the progressive left. I've also been here. I think we're wide on YouTube for a couple of minutes here. I've been on YouTube since 2006, political videos since 2008. There were no conservatives. back then. It wasn't a thing. And everyone here had to take a lot of arrows. And now I've seen the gains that have been made. This idea that the youngest generation in America, particularly males, would become one of the most conservative generations in America. The pushback, the rebellion against cancel culture, Donald Trump himself, these are huge gains. And I hope that all of us at least share one thing, that we want to maintain that we want to keep that we want to continue the momentum. And I also see kind of two different factions. You have some people who definitely are kind of trying to issue some purity tests. You have some people who are saying this needs to be the biggest tent possible. I think it's a big tent. I think it's a bigger tent than the Democrat tent. And you also have some people saying, yeah, but we can't just let anyone in because that will subvert the movement. That will subvert what we stand for. That is also true. And so I think we're at a point right now where a lot of people sometimes say, what does it mean to be a conservative? What does it mean to be America first when we're losing? It's more important to say that when we are winning, when we are making gains. Because really, what is ownership? It's a means of enforcement. And our means of enforcement here, we're not talking about violent force. It's having enough of a coalition to elect presidents and to form governments. And most importantly, to shape culture. So what does that tent, what does that party look like? And how do we deal with people who maybe share some of our values in some capacities, but right now we've seen some wedge issues. And yeah, some of it is obviously right now the conversation surrounding Israel. And I don't think that necessarily should be a dividing issue where you consider someone who is not amongst you if they have a slightly different view of that. And so I think it's important, maybe this will help, because you have people, again, who want to be too exclusive, and they're wrong. And then you have people who want to let wolves in the door. What does it mean? What is the future? I'd like to propose that we view this through the lens of national borders versus state borders. Or you can say closed-handed issues versus open-handed issues. And then an important litmus test to determine who we consider to be our allies, to be our brothers, sisters, nosies in arms. So to be a conservative, to be America first, to be right-wing in this country, I think people do need to meet some very specific standards, right? As far as national borders, these are non-negotiables. These are closed-handed issues. What would those be? Freedom of speech, the right to self-defense, bear arms. Of course, it needs to be rooted in truth, pro-truth. I think prioritization of the United States, its citizens, their well-being above all other nations. First and foremost, America first. Yeah. Strong borders, immigration policy that specifically, in no uncertain terms, serves the American people's.
No, and I agree. I agree with most of that. Let's go back to this real quick. Freedom of speech, always. Right to self-defense, bear arms, of course, but I mean within reason. I don't like the idea of. Well, I mean, even tanks. Like most people who own tanks have them out on a bunch of land and just, shenanigans. But hey, if you want to spend your money on it, whatever. That's one way for rich people to pay taxes. They can pay the government for decommissioned tanks, or at least old tanks that they don't need anymore. Prioritization of the United States and its citizens and their well-being therein above other nations. Of course, 100%. Strong borders and immigration policy. Immigration policy is the biggest part because everything that we do does nothing to change immigration policy. Should there be they have a little bit in this administration, but they've mostly just done it to where rich people can come in, but they have to pay, which I'm 100% for. But they should also make it easier for, look, when it comes to legal asylees, they're supposed to come to the first developed nation that they reach once they leave their homeland. The first, not NATO, UN nation, I believe. So for a lot of them, that would be Mexico or El Salvador. But that's not what's happening. They're walking all the way across these countries and coming here. And the governments between here and there are allowing it. That's my biggest thing. Because they're not only breaking our law, they're breaking international law. And I feel for these people because a lot of them, and it still makes me laugh when I brought up coyotes to a hard lefty liberal friend of mine. They thought I was talking about animals. They thought I was comparing immigrants to animals, to coyotes, to which I looked at them like their mother abused Tylenol while she was pregnant. That's not getting old for me for a while, so I'm going to say it quite a bit. Thank you. But no one, especially liberals, do not change immigration policy. They merely ignore it, and that's not a way to do anything. You don't make a difference by ignoring laws on the books, because then when you apply laws that you want to apply, no one looks at you seriously. That's what's happening in a lot of these big blue cities. They're ignoring laws that are on the books. Even in those cities and states, they haven't changed a lot of these laws. They're just ignoring them. Like right now, a lot of big blue cities in big red states like Texas ignore weed laws. They won't push anybody unless they're actively fucked up while driving, but they don't care. They won't arrest you in a lot of these cities for doing these things. And while people who like to do those things like that they don't do that, it's not the right answer. You have to push for these laws to be changed. And they really should put these up to a vote more often. And people should either, who believe in it, vote for it, who believe against it, vote against it, and people who don't care, maybe just don't vote for that particular law at the very least. And I think that's what a lot of it is. People who don't care voting for or against something that they really know nothing about. But let's continue. Strong military defense. Sure, within reason, especially we have a lot of enemies preparing for war out there. So we need to make sure our military is strong and funded, but not overly funded like during the Bush administration. Pro-tradition, pro-Christendom basis for Western morality. I will say not anti and not anti-tradition in Christendom. Pro even, but not run. And that's one of the things you have to do. The messaging here is important. You have to make sure that people know that you're not going to let your religion run the government. Even though they're letting people in whose religion runs their government, we can't do that. Or else no one's ever going to take it seriously. And if the left doesn't realize that, then they're going to get the, what's that Hulu show where they force people to make babies? They're going to get that, The Handmaid's Tale. They're going to end up getting that. You're going to push the right so far over, so far back in the other direction to counter how far left people have gone these days, that the backswing is going to be huge. Right now, it's fairly calm. You have centrists like myself holding it in the middle. Pro-traditional gender roles, societal. I'm okay with it. With some wiggle room. Like, let's go back 10, 15 years to how it was. It's okay for, of course, women to work. It's okay for men to work. It's okay for women to stay home. It's okay for men to stay home. I like that. Freedom of choice. Or freedom for both people to have jobs if need be. But I don't like the necessity for both people to have jobs. That's my biggest thing. Nowadays, you have to because nobody pays you. Nuclear family, and I'm not so anti the alphabet folks, but I really wish they were a bit more subdued. Like every time that there's a victory, they keep dashing for the next one instead of just celebrating the victory that you have. This is what people are, it's what's going to get people radicalized in the opposite direction. And I don't want that either. I do not want a right-wing totalitarian state at all. Pro-natalist and pro-life in principle. I'm pro stupid people not having kids. I'm not pro-abortion because that's horrible. I'm not pro-life. And I'm certainly not pro-choice because if people were good at making choices, then there wouldn't be a movement at all. I'm pro stupid people not having kids. However that is, teach them how to use contraceptive during sex, make sure this and that. There's really no good way because it just feels better without it. Everyone knows this. That's how so many babies are made. That, and for some reason in the mid 2000s and early 2010s, people were always bragging about letting loose inside of people, we'll say. I always thought this was so dumb. Like, I used to hear some of my army buddies or some other guys in the unit saying stuff like this, and I'm just like, was she on birth control? And he's like, I don't know that, man. I was just like, yep, you're an idiot. You're a dipshit. Congratulations. Anyway, continue.
Specifically, in no uncertain terms, serves the American people's interest. A strong military to protect America's interest. Notice I didn't say pro-war or hawkish, but a means of enforcement so we can protect what it is that we want to preserve. I think these are issues on which there can be no compromise. I think pro-tradition, and even if you are not a Christian, pro-Christendom as the basis for Western civilization and morality. Meaning, I know plenty of atheists who aren't quite there in their faith walk yet, but they recognize that the Christian founding of this nation is fundamental to what it is that we want to preserve, and that we can't simply create a vacuum like Europe that can be filled with modern Islamism. This also would include pro-traditional gender roles.
And look, I don't care what religion you are, but we can't ignore the fact that the people who are coming here from other countries are coming from countries where their religion dominates the landscape. Love Christian or hate Christians, we have pried power away from them over the last 40, 50 years. While they still have influence, they are not in total control. Not the way that they are in most Muslim countries where religion is dominant. This is not Islamophobic to say, because you can be a peaceful person who practices Islam, but you cannot have Sharia law in your countries. This is what gets gay people thrown off roofs. This is what makes it to where women can't show their skin or go out without an attendant. I've never understood the left, especially a feminist left or an LGBTQ left, that pushes and covers for people who not only have similar beliefs to the Christians that they hate so much, but in some cases, especially the ones coming directly from some of these countries where the government is dominant in the Middle East and other countries, where they could not be free to be who they are in those countries. And yes, some of these people escaped to seek a better life in America because they were LGBT, or they wanted to experience what feminism has to offer, or because they want to experience other thing with America, because we are still, even though we're not perfect, even though, yes, our history is filled with bloodshed and colonialism and all this other stuff that every country in the world has a history of. Pretty much every major civilization has colonialism in their history. Hell, even the native tribes here in America fought each other over land and over livestock, and we cannot say that any person is better than other. That's why this thing that the Canadians are doing about giving the land back to the indigenous people, taking land away from its own people. I don't care if they're wealthy. I don't care if they're poor. Their land is being taken. In the same way that, like, gun buybacks, imagine them just coming and taking the guns and not giving you any cash for them. Something that you've already paid for, that you've already put up for. You can call it a tax or whatever. Give them something. At the very least, don't take it in the first place. But if you're going to, give them something. I don't know how people are okay with this. Like, it's literally, and I'll end on this because I'm running out of time. But I've had a lot of friends over the years who have had shitty parents. And they've tried so hard because they hate their parents, mostly for telling them no in a lot of the cases. or because they were always at work and they couldn't be at home because they were single parents, single fathers, single mothers. So they didn't get to spend the time and attention that they needed. It happens a lot when you're poor. But hating your parents to the point where you don't just do the opposite of the things that you didn't like that they did, you do the opposite of everything that they do. And I know a few people in particular, they've never had a steady home. They've got several kids from several different people, but they've never had a steady home. But they're always going on vacation. They go on vacation 2-3 times a year. They just crash on people's couches while their kids stay with whoever. Some of them stay with this parent. Some of them stay with grandparents. Because they did everything the exact opposite of what their parents did. They didn't provide a stable house because their parents provided that, and they didn't want to be anything like their parents. Which is, it's sad. But at the same time, like, I understand people always think that their parents are the worst. But you have to stop and think sometimes, were they really that bad, or why were they doing a particular thing? Like, I know someone who their parents, I think his mom was sick, and no, it was the dad wasn't in the picture. The mom was raising, and the grandma was staying with him. And the grandma was sick, and she would tell the kid that if you're bad, grandma will get worse. Which is fucked up. But the kid's doing really well these days. I mean, and some people would say, hey, at least it wasn't physical abuse or this or that. Like, this person is fucked up. But they're doing pretty well in life. They make a decent salary. They've got friends. They've got a life. They're doing things. Their parents were fucked up. But I mean, there's always worse, and parents, I don't know. Like I try to be as understanding as I can when people are put in horrible or desperate positions. But the main thing is, look, just understand why people who came before you did what they did. Do not hold people 40 years ago or even 100 years ago to the same standard as we live today. Because it's not going to happen. And first and foremost, and beyond all else, just know that every society, every creed, every race has been a slave and has held slaves. And slavery still exists in the world. There are more slaves now than there ever have been at any point in history. Now, that's partially because the world population is bigger than it's ever been. And percentage-wise, it's gone down a little when it comes to percentage of people versus people who are slaves. But slavery's still out there, and it's big. The only reason that we don't care about it, or that we talk about America's history with slavery as opposed to other countries that are currently doing it, and a lot of them either mine the lithium for your batteries, or put your phones together, or any other product that you like, especially the electronic ones, or even your shirts, are made by slave labor, sometimes child slave labor. But you don't care about that. You care about the country that you're in being horrible because you feel bad because you have it so good. Or because maybe you don't have it as good as other people who still live in the country that you live in. But you have it better than most of the world if you live in the Western world. These are just facts. So instead of crying about how good you have it as opposed to how other people have it, do something with yourself to where maybe you can grow and get the fundage to help out people in these other places. You can get to a position where you can actually do something about it. I wish someone had said this to me when I was a young activist. But all I had was Mr. Feeney to keep me from being disgusting. So anyway, but that's all I got for today. We're not going to watch the rest of this. This is just him describing what conservatives need to do to get together. It's all right here. I went over it already. My bad, Steven Crowder. We'll give you a like. But just keep in mind, all people are just people, just like you. Doesn't matter if they're white, black, rich, poor, gay, straight, atheist, theist, or any of the various kinds of theists that there are out there. They're all just people trying to get by. And it seems it's always hilarious to me how the people who push empathy are the most empathy lacking people that I've ever met. Because they only have empathy for people who agree with them. They don't have any empathy for the people who may have been mean to them in their past. Most of my good friends used to be my bullies. Except for one, but he's a fucker. But most of my bullies in the army, in the school, in pretty much every job that I've had, I've made them laugh. Or I've given them a worldview that they didn't think of. Or I found them in a rare moment where they were crying to themselves in a back corner at work or somewhere near work. And I just listened to them. Like, not listen to them crying from around the wall, but like I talked to them. I listened to them. Sometimes people can find solace in the kindness of strangers. But you don't know until you ask. You might get your face punched in. I've had that happen a couple of times. I've been called, hungry, and for having compassion. But I'll never stop. I'll never let fear stop me. Because I would much rather let someone vent their frustration, even if it gets me punched in the face, than let them carry that burden. You let them take a little bit off there. That's it. I'm not saying go out there and try to get yourself punched in the face. I'm just saying sometimes it happens when you reach out to people who are in pain. Some of them don't know anything but to lash out with pain. Just be careful. Carry a pepper spray or whatever, just in case they got a shank on you. They're going to get you. But always go in with the highest of hopes. And who knows what you might find. You might find yourself a new friend, or at the very least, someone like Steve Buscemi from Billy Madison, who will at least check your name off the hit list. That's all for me, guys. Thank you very much. Give us a like, give us a share, or give me a dislike if you think that I'm just a retard on the internet. But, and give me a follow on Rumble. You don't have to actually pay attention. I just need a couple more so I can start streaming over there. Mostly the morning shows like this. But you guys have been great. I appreciate you. We've got a pretty decent audience. I don't normally have this many people watching in the morning, which kind of tells you where I'm at with this. But thank you all very much, and we will see you